they call it the pop. Remember that? The pop.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's the orgasm of seeing a moment that you've been waiting for. You know, it only comes once in a great while. We only get those moments once in a great while in any type of combat sport.
Back edge lands a big gold medal. You're the gold medalist for the United States, and then the offers start coming in.
Coming in, right.
Like,
yeah.
maybe I will turn pro.
Why not? Leave it in the ring.
Even though you come back from those things and you're moving around and everything's good, you're just never the same before you go under that knife. And I just wanted to go out on, you know, my way. Didn't make a big, tried not to make a big deal of it. Just told my boss I'm done, and everybody was shocked. Everybody was angry at me too. Why? You know, and I said, it's the right thing to do. I mean, if you guys, what do you think? You go out before people start telling you, or you wait around too long and everybody's saying, what the hell are you still doing there? I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think you're absolutely right. But you know what I think is more extraordinary is that you decided to, like, before anybody started giving you the hint, because, you know, a lot of times somebody retires, it's because they're getting the hint and they're like, you know, before they finally make the full decision of exiting me out, I'm going to make that jump. But you didn't have any of that. You just said, hey, you know what? I want to move on. So I applaud you for that. But because that's just so big of you, in my opinion, to say, you know what? I mean, realistically, 60, you're going to be 60. I mean, I would have never thought. I honestly thought you were a little younger than that. So my opinion, I mean, you know your body better than I would, right? Is that I thought maybe you had another 10 years left in you.
I totally believe I had more years left in me, but I've watched. Look, Father Time is undefeated. I'll tell
Absolutely.
you that, guys, right off the bat. And I've watched guys, my contemporaries, and I'm not trying to, you know, call out guys by name or anything, but fall flat on their face trying to end the fight because their legs don't move the way they used to move. I've watched guys that refuse to get down on the ground and count in front of the fighter's face because they're afraid they can't get up. Guys have trouble picking up a mouthpiece when it comes up. Guys not hearing the bell at the end of the round or the end of a fight. I didn't want any of that for me. Everything was good. I know I proved to myself that I still got it just with those fights I told you about in the last year. Highest level of money type fights and, you know, promoter put on. And I got through everything, no problem. And I said, go out on top.
Yeah, I applaud you for that, you know, Jack. That's honestly very big of you, not being selfish. And you know, it just says a whole lot about you as a person, you know, and I think why so many people loved you as a ref when you got in that ring. We knew that the fighters, not only the fighters were going to be taken care of, but the right calls were going to be made on fight night.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And if I could leave the sport with a great reputation, I'll be a very happy guy. And if I can I believe I have, and I'm going to continue to try, especially with mentoring referees, I want to contribute. I want to give back. This sport has given me so much, like I said, with moments and memories that I would have never had being who I am and where I'm from. And I'm telling you guys, if somebody got hurt because of me, I could never live with myself. So I just felt like, time to go.
Yeah. Like I said, you know, I think it's tough for anybody to go. I've always said, I've told this to my kids repeatedly, is the toughest thing you can do in life is look in the mirror and pick yourself about the good and the bad qualities that you have. And, you know, again, I can't say enough, for you to say, look, I think it's time for me not to cross the street, but maybe go around the corner in this sport and do a little bit something different and contribute in that way. At least we're going to still be able to see Jack Reiss's name somewhere and during a fight,
Thank you. Absolutely. Look, this is the first thing in my life that I ever decided to walk away from that I absolutely love. Even we had relationships with a girl towards the end, it's not going well. Yeah, you love her, but you know it's time to go. But with
Right.
this, it was like I love it. I didn't want to go, and I said, but it's the right thing to do, and I left.
I know. You know, it's easier to walk away when something's toxic. Though, Jack, I would say boxing is very, very toxic. And that's leading into my next question here is that
Oh my God.
how many times, I don't even know, do you even read comments of fans, and have you ever kind of skimmed through what people have said either about yourself or your colleagues? And have you ever dealt with that? Because there's a lot of psychic that goes involved with your work. You know, you have to not only worry about the criticism of your colleagues or the guy that's above you that's watching over every little single move you're making inside the ring, but then you have the whole world that likes to judge what is happening, about, you know, what the third man is doing, the mistakes that they believe are major mistakes, or that you dropped the ball and they probably could have done better than you, being a couch arm quarterback. So let me ask you, how difficult is it to navigate through that? And have you ever had a colleague that has came up to you and said, you know what, Jack, I don't think this is for me, I'm going to walk away?
Yes. Let me just give you guys a little backstory. So I started in this. It was not like it is today. The world has progressed with technology so much. I'll
Right.
give you an example. You either saw a little article in LA Times or the New York Daily News if you missed a fight on TV, or you had to wait till Ring Magazine came out to find out the results when I first started. And then all of a sudden, around 1990 or 2000 or something like that, cell phones and cameras. Now the world is, who doesn't have a cell phone and a camera? And everybody has the ability. And there's, look, you guys know, people probably, I would imagine, they're jealous of you guys for having a great podcast. They say negative stuff. You know, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to take it with where it's coming from. But I'll tell you what I've done. I've actually used it to help me improve. And I said, I'll give you a great example. I did a fight, and some of the fans were saying I stopped it too quick, and they're not in there with the guy a foot away, and they don't see what we were seeing. A lot of times the fans are drinking, they're talking, they're really not following the progression of damage. And I remember saying to myself, I got out of the ring, and De La Hoya was the promoter, and Oscar and Bernard said to me, great stop. He was buzzed. You know, they were okay with it. The promoter's okay with it. You're in good shape. But I saw these comments about that I stopped it too quick. And I said to myself, don't these people know what the hell they're looking at? And I realized, no, they don't. I got to educate them. I got to help them.
Right.
So I learned to, I said to myself, okay, you got to show people, you got to bring people in. You got to start setting up your calls before you make them. When it comes to taking points, you got to give some big hard warnings at some point, unless it's egregious. If it's a terrible foul, that's a different story. But all the little stuff, all the little low blows, the headbutts, all the little things add up. And when you start getting to your tolerance level, you got to start giving the warnings, because you're mic'd, the camera's going to be on you to let everybody know you're warning this guy. So by the time you take that point, everybody goes, I'm glad he took that point already. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with a stoppage. You get a guy in trouble. I see it all day long. Today, I can't believe it. In this day and age, don't do it. If the guy's in trouble and he's on the ropes, I'm screaming at him, fighter, get out, show me something. And then in between rounds, I'm going into his corner and I'm telling his corner, hey, I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm getting close to stopping this. If you don't bring it next round, he's in trouble. I'm going to stop it. And they're either on your side supporting what you're doing, but also the commentators hear what you're saying, and maybe they're saying something about it. So it's not a surprise to people. That's what it means, selling your call. So all the negative comments help me learn something. And I've tried to look at it that way. If multiple people are saying something, okay, maybe I'm not educating everybody well enough. And what do I got to do different or better? But it's not fun.
No.
I had a colleague just recently take an extreme amount of criticism. It wasn't constructive. It was criticism from a peer and stuff like that. And I talked to that official off the ledge. You know, they're about to jump. I talked to her off the ledge. We chatted, and I go, no, you're going to get this. Why? Because you're taking work from them. Because they're jealous of you. You're learning who your friends are. Just because people shake your hand doesn't mean they're friends. This is a really cutthroat business, and don't leave. You'll be, and that person's happy that they didn't go. It's happened a lot of times, actually.
I would think so, you know what I mean? Because if, they say, I don't want to get religious, but, in the Bible says a blow only hurts for a second, but the lash of the tongue can last forever. And I know a lot of folks, you got to have thick skin for this type of, especially if you're going to be out there and you're exposing yourself and you have all eyes on me, What fight, though, would you say that made you reevaluate or even make you doubt yourself for a brief moment where you had to go like, am I doing a bad job or is just them?
So many fights I can't even tell you. So, and it's funny. I'm going to move into a different kind of question, but people have asked me, "Did you enjoy it? Was it great doing all that stuff?" I got to tell you, for me, trying to be the best I could be. I was so in the moment when the fights are happening, and then once the fights are over, you enjoy the ride home, but then you're looking forward to your next fight. You're not sitting there taking applause. You're back to, real life. You're back to your husband, you're a husband and a father and you're picking up dog shit and taking out the trash. So there's no nobody really, puts referees on a pedestal. So you really don't get to enjoy it. It's been a strange thing since I've retired and guys like yourself have been asking me questions. I've got to look back and go, wow, I was in the ring with him. Holy mackerel, I was so lucky. So I'm finally starting to enjoy it. But there has not been a fight that I can remember where I haven't went back to look at it with the most critical eye I could possibly give myself and try better than I did that night. And I've always done it, just always critical of myself. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I never sold anybody. I'll tell you guys, and obviously your fans will know. People would tell me, you look great. Why are you retiring? I don't like the way I don't move like I move. I'm 60. I'm going to be 69, man. So, and I'm used to myself in my mind, that 40-year-old guy flying around the ring.
Right. And
that's one of the reasons when I go, you know what? The body's fine. I'm doing great. I keep in, best shape I possibly can and everything. But the reality is I can see the difference because I'm always critical of myself. And please, as religious and philosophical as you want, I believe God puts us in places for reasons, and I'm a very devout believer, so you don't have to worry about me.
Absolutely. No. The one thing about us fight fans is we can complain a lot, but when we're at a function and we're the lone rider at that function, meaning that you are surrounded by NFL fans and NBA fans and NFL fans, right? They could talk about the sport. Have you ever been in that predicament, Jack, where you being in the business and somebody goes, "Hey, Jack, you're a ref, right?" And the conversation begins with that, but then it slowly turns into you defending your sport because immediately they point out how corrupt boxing is when they really are not aficionados like the way we are.
It's happened quite a bit. I can give you great examples. Like you guys know, I was praised, but I was criticized for giving Fury a count in the 12th round when he got knocked down. And I would love to debate this little wimpy kind of guy. What's his name? Skip Bayless on Fox.
Yeah.
Right.
What's he ever done physically where he's been, a person that puts himself out there to actually fail or succeed? And he's saying horrible things about boxing. And I got people like that all the time. If they're pleasant with me, I'll try to educate them. But if they're not pleasant, they're going to get you don't know shit about boxing, pal. And you're demonstrating it right now. And this conversation's over and I'll walk away. You can't argue with an idiot because if you argue with an idiot, who's the idiot? You know what I mean?
Right.
You see a different story.
I've always been in the predicament where, somebody finds out. I mean, obviously, if you know me, if you've been around me, I mean, if you look at my office, for crying out loud, I got 3 TVs so I can watch every fight, that's happening on the same night because we know how the broadcast and the promoters like to counterpart each other. My whole office is memorabilia of boxing. But it's always I used to be a boxing fan. Start off the conversation, back in when Mike Tyson, and it's like, we're in 2004, man. We're not talking about the 90s. You can't be, I used to be a boxing fan if you watched it back when we used to use the black box, for pay-per-views. You're not a boxing fan, Why don't you just be honest? You're not a fan for you to sit there and criticize a sport that you're not even in tune with anymore. I've never understood that logic.
So sometimes, I meet different people in different life settings.
Right.
And, or a friend or somebody will tell them I'm a boxing referee, and they'll tell me, oh yeah, I love boxing. And one of the things I do right now is I go, tell me who your favorite boxers are in today's era. Oh, well, I liked Mike Tyson. I remember him, and they don't know anything. I'm not rude at it, but I know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You guys follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do.
You can tell right away if they're a real boxing fan or not.
And it really sucks because your ears perk up when they say, "Oh, I'm a boxing fan," and then they bring up the '80s and early '90s, and then you just it's like the high went up and it just crashed really, really hard after you kind of figured out, no, they're not boxing fans. Jack, let me ask you.
And I'll mention like a top fighter. I'm just saying Virgil Ortiz or whoever. I'll mention Gervonta Davis. I go, you guys know Gervonta Davis? No, I haven't heard of him. I go, I'm done.
Yeah. No. or they say, or what about this, Jack? They say, well, the problem with, again, they don't watch the sport, but they're going to tell us the problems in boxing. The problem in boxing, Dave, is the best don't fight the best. When, this past year and the last year, we had nothing but unification fights, great fights, and I sit there and go like, well, you would know this if you watch the sport, but you don't.
And the problem is, people hear something someone else says, and they want to feel like they're the smartest person in the room, and
right.
They say something and they really can't back it up. But you know what? If the person's not rude to me, I'm not rude to them.
Right. No, absolutely.
I'd rather be like an ambassador and say, hey, that's not really true. Here's what happens, and why don't you try to the Zone or ESPN and catch in the fights? And by the way, you can watch Pro Box every Wednesday night. And you can really educate yourself about the sport. I'd rather bring them in as
right.
I'd rather have them walking away from someone who represents the sport as an ambassador rather than an asshole.
Right.
So I try.
I think we've learned that with age, because when I was younger, I was a little bit more aggressive. I'm like, yeah, get out of my face. But when we get older, we're like, listen, you mentioned the 80s. Did you watch the USA boxing? And a lot of them will say, oh, yeah. Pro box is kind of identical to that. You're not going to have the top stars, but you're going to have guys that potentially are on that way up. They're going to go through that journey. Yeah. So why don't you tune in to Pro Box or tune into the Jake Paul series, which is the MVP. You got some good fights there, potential prospects. They're going to make it big, Let me.
Can I interject for a question?
Yeah,
a second?
Go ahead.
Much. Because of technology, it's so much better for the fan.
Absolutely.
We couldn't follow a guy from the Ukraine or Russia in his career. Now, with everything being streamed, we get to watch just about everything. You can follow fighters on the East Coast very easily, and other countries way easier than we did, 10 years ago. So it's so much better because of technology as well.
It is, compared to in our era of great fighters and trying to keep an eye on them, you had to buy KO magazine, you had to buy The Ring, and you read mostly about them. And then when people started selling DVDs of these fights from across the pond, which I would buy because I was interested in these guys and interested in Central American fighters, I would buy them to witness what was all the, the hype about that was put on black and white, paper. So I completely agree. I think that fight fans are overly spoiled and don't realize what they have in their hand. I mean, look, Christmas shopping here, hate it, but I go because of my wife. Okay, because my wife, we got to buy this, we got to buy that. But thank God that we have this small device called an iPhone or Android, whatever you have, and I can stream. Unbelievable. I can sit there and watch fights from the past to what's happening at the moment. Love it. I
got to tell you guys something. Part of improvement is watching, for a referee and a judge, is watching as many fights as you possibly can. And because of this damn iPhone technology,
Right.
we sit at fights watching fights from like the other countries in between our fights. And we're talking, there's sometimes, Matchroom will have a great fight on, and so will Golden Boy.
Right.
And we're saying we're working the Golden Boy fight, watching the Matchroom fight at the same time. All the time it happens.
Yeah. I mean, we're living in great times. That's why it puzzles me when you see fight fans or even non-casual fans say, the best are not fighting the best when, God, you have a fight practically every day now. Every day. There's not a fight happening.
You can record it, and if you can't get to it for a couple of days, you still get to watch it, and you get to go replay to actually watch. Hey, was that a headbutt? Oh, yeah, there it was. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's so much better in that respect. But the negative side of it is, like we were talking about, everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a comment. You do it nice. You guys can do a great podcast, and somebody's going to write something negative on you. It's just nature of the beast.
It is what it is how I normally look at it. It's going to happen. It's no biggie. We roll with the punches, and this just keep moving.
How do you handle it?
I don't honestly.
Do you ever call them out?
I never really honestly answer back to anybody. I used to, but how do you argue with stupid? You just can't do it. So, I mean, I just sit back and go, you know what? A lot of times I think it's honestly not us, or I don't even think it's the sport. I think there's something personal happening in that person's life, and that's the only way they could vent it.
Great.
It's
point.
not, I mean, I would love to pick up a lot of these kids that I see on social media and take them to a gym. I mean, that's what my grandfather did to me. I was getting in a lot of fights when I was in elementary, and my grandpa was like, "Oh, you think you're a little badass, huh?" Took me to the gym, and this one kid named Carlos, hope if you hear this, it was always a pleasure knowing you. Don't jab me in the face again. Kid, he gave me like 25 jabs in the first minute of our fight, back when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and it taught me a hard lesson was that, you know what? Not all the time my anger is going to get me out of situations, so I think it's best for me to learn other avenues to express myself.
I totally agree, and I came up this. I grew up in a pretty, tough neighborhood in Brooklyn, and as I was getting older, you get in fights. It happens, and you don't want to ever feel that you can't take care of yourself. So I went out looking for a gym, a boxing gym to learn, and the closest boxing gym to my house was Gleason's, believe it or not. But it was a 30-minute train ride through some rough ass neighborhoods to get there. And my mom said, "You are not taking the trains 10, 11 o'clock at night on a weekday all alone, through those neighborhoods."
Right.
I was very fortunate. I found a martial arts studio like 2 miles from my house with a great black belt, Louis Neglia, and I took martial arts. And at least I learned how to punch. I learned how to fight, and I got into fighting. I was like 14 or 15 at the time.
It's the greatest thing, man. It's so addicting.
Oh, yeah.
I had the pleasure to train my boys, and and they've continued on. I mean, they don't take it serious, but it's more of a stress release for them, and I think it's one of the best things. I think it's made me a much calmer, better person. Definitely has made me more clear and focused on looking at certain situations, rather than getting all riled up. It's made me kind of like look at the picture much different to be able to paint it, so I recommend it for everybody. 100%. Yeah.
It's funny. We're all from the same cloth. I swear to you.
Yeah.
Can you guys see this?
Yes.
It's me and my kids.
Oh, wow.
My kids to box 30 years ago in the garage. I put headgear on them and all that stuff all the time. The friends would come over. I'd make them fight their friends, and we had a blast. Nobody ever got hurt. Bloody nose. Big deal.
Yeah. I'm the one that always ended up with a bloody nose with my kids. For some reason. I swear to you. They always would break my nose and stuff. My son now, my oldest is 26. And to this day, he still like, "Come on, Dad, let's go spar." And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not sparring with you. Like, you don't even know how, because you're not supposed to go to 100%. For some reason, he doesn't understand 100%. He goes 150 with me. And I'm like, look, my body's not the same anymore. I don't have the same reactions. I can't do certain things. And he doesn't see it. He's like, no, Dad, you're still the same guy. You're still the same guy. It's all in your head. Hey, I would love, and I know you would think this too. We would love to think it's just all in our head. Trust me, it isn't. It's not all on our head.
It is.
You know, wear and tear, baby. It's wear and tear. Yes. Let me. I know you retired out of refereeing. Let me ask you this, because you have trained some of the best refs out there. You've helped them, guide them through. They go out there. You know, somebody can take a course, go out to Southern California. Have you retired from that, or are you still involved in training guys to do their best as the third man in the ring?
I know I'm going to stick around and help and contribute as much as I can on that level. You guys know who the ABC is, the Association of Boxing Commissions?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
They're the ones who regulate all the rule sets and other things for all the world championship bouts. So I am one of the certified ABC boxing referee trainers, and I go out probably 6 times a year for them to other countries and other states and teach and promote the championship rules, but also we promote common sense application to the rules. We don't want people living by the letter of the law. We want them living by the spirit of the law. We teach them that, what to do in different situations and try to get everybody on the same page with mechanics. And then I got that private course that myself, Tom Taylor, Russell Mora, and Ed Calantes, and others too, Mark DiTilio, Pim Aishada, and other people are all helping. We put this together once a year. And you guys are both invited if you want to go this year. It's going to be in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You come as our guests, and just make sure you do a nice podcast about it.
Absolutely.
And after, tell us what you think.
Definitely.
You'll learn a lot about boxing from the other side. But we have people. We've had about 200 officials, referees, come through the course over the last 4 years, or 5 years, whatever it is. But 4 classes. COVID messed us up. And a lot of them are repeat customers. So we must be doing something right, because they keep coming back to get to the next level. And we show them stuff that where they live, maybe they don't have people with that kind of experience that can help them understand the scenario. So we give them a lot of tools for their tool chest. And I want to say something. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. Please, I'm not trying to do that. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't know if you guys realize I've done 1,152 professional fights as a ref. And I know that because people have been asking me, and I finally went back and looked at all that stuff. Right. And in that 1,152 fights, I never disqualified anybody. Because it was, you guys were hinting to something earlier. And what I want to say is, it's our job to do what we possibly can to get the fight to go to a natural conclusion. That's part of our job. We got to do that safely, but there's some guys that use disqualification, referees. They use it as a tool. It's not a tool. It's a last resort. That's when all of your other tools have not had the effect you need. Yeah, you disqualified a guy. But when you get to that point, nobody's going to complain that when you get to that point, you've tried so many other things. When you finally have to disqualify, nobody's going to complain about it. The guy deserved it. Like 14 low blows. Everybody's going to understand that, right? Right.
That's why we mentioned earlier was that you're known for the fighter's safety, but you always allow them to continue the entertainment value for the fans. Like you don't interrupt that. You're not one of those refs that will just automatically jump. Like as soon as they would hold, you jump in and separate. And you would let them fight their way out. And I think that's why fans have always loved what you've done.
I appreciate that, but I got to tell you guys, I wasn't always like that. Experience is what gets you to that point when, like I was saying earlier, when people are booing you and you think you're doing your job, you've got to take a look at it and go, what am I doing wrong? What could I be doing better? And you learn. You're trying so hard when you're a young referee that you come out of the ring and you go, how did I do? But when you get a little time on it, when you get out of the ring after you got about, I'm going to say 200 fights under your belt, you come out of the ring And you're not asking, how did I do anymore? You're asking, okay, what could I do different or better
Right.
next? And you start growing and you stop breaking them too soon. You let them work out of clinches. And let me say too, man, I have made so many mistakes, I can't even count them. But I've documented them and I show them in the class. I show them my mistakes. I show other mistakes that officials have made. But when I say mistakes, we show a situation and we say, okay, guys, you think this is the best outcome, the way it was handled. So let's talk about what we do different or better. So if you have that situation, you'll handle it different. But personally, I have done so many things that I wish there's at least in 1,152 fights, there's at least 10 of them that I wish I could do over again, that I wish I could totally change what I did. And, but I can't go back, you know?
Right.
But everybody went home safe. Everybody went home safe to their families. I'm blessed for that. But I might not have handled it. I would definitely not have handled those situations now the way I did back then. That's experience.
You know, it's refreshing to hear. You know, even the first time we had you on, when you discussed this whole process of, you know, when somebody would come down and learn this trade, because that's obviously, it's a trade. It's not something anybody can do. Not everybody can just catch on. It's a work in progress. You can have 200 fights underneath your belt, but you're still going to be considered an apprentice. You know, I think that overall is fascinating.
Ray, let me say something to you.
Yeah.
You are an apprentice at 200 fights.
Right.
200 fights is just to get your feet
It's nothing.
wet.
Right.
From
Exactly.
2 to 500,
Man.
from 201 to 500 is where you really, if you're smart and you've got mentorship and you got peer group support, you watch
Right.
a lot of fights and you really care. From 2 to 500 is where you really grow and get to the next levels. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, I totally agree with you.
That's
And yeah, you know, where I'm alluding to is that I wish, though, that other trades in the sport, like cutmen, why don't they have that? Why don't they have some type of program? You know, before Indian Willie passed away, cutman, great cutman, great guy. We had a long discussion about that, and he said I would offer for guys if they wanted to learn this trade to come to my gym. It's just the fact that it's so easy to get a whistle around your neck. I mean, even with trainers, we see a lot of trainers make mistakes in there. You know, I would like to see, like, for the trainers aspect, that if they don't make a judgment call on their fighter when they should stop it or when they should, you know, have the proper guys on their corner, that they should be point deducted from them, saying that they can't coach another fight until they correct this, until they learn this. Why do you think, Jack, that none of that has been implicated on these other aspects of the sport?
I could tell you easily, very easily. Look, I know a lot of times, and not only me, all the refs, we walk into a dressing room and we see who's in the corner or in between rounds when we go in to check on and we're listening to what the trainers are saying. We know who's winning that fight before it ever happens, before it ever unfolds. In our sport, it's unfortunate, but there's no one entry point. Like if I wanted to be a trainer in the NFL or a referee or official in the NFL, I have to go through the front door of the NFL offices.
Right.
Where in boxing, it's splintered. We have so many commissions. And look, they don't do things in Iowa and Oklahoma and Arkansas the way we do them in California. So, and I'm not blaming those places. I'm just saying, I use this as an example. I'm not saying they do it, but honestly, sometimes you could be working in a factory or working in Home Depot and you're somebody important's friend on the commission, and 2 weeks later you're judging a professional boxing match at a club show because of cronyism. That's what's wrong with the sport. And I got to tell you guys something. We live in California. We got the best commission in the world, who I couldn't be where I'm at today without the support from the things that the opportunities they gave me, but also team effort when we're in there. And one of the things that they take care of for us is a great example. I'm trying to manage a highly viewed championship fight where the promoter has put in a shit ton of money to make this successful. and you got a guy in that corner that you've never seen before. He's
Right.
wearing a 2-piece sweat outfit that he bought at Dick's Sporting Goods store. It's $150. He's got his hair slicked back and dark sunglasses on.
What is that all about?
Right? And then, this happened to me. The fighter, it's happened to me multiple times. One of the fighters, his fighter, is he's a friend of the guy. And I go into it was early in the fight. I go into the corner because there was some few shots went astray, a little bit low. No, just a little bit low. So I go in the corner, and you got to understand, I'm trying to manage this. It's like the main event on ESPN or HBO, right? And I go in the corner just to give the fighter a caution, a simple little, hey, bud, keep him up. Just, you know what I'm saying? And the guy with the glasses and the suit is screaming at you, screaming at the top of his lungs at me when I'm trying to manage the fight. Well, thank God here, our inspectors, Mark Relier, the chief inspector, will not tolerate anything like that. Andy Foster and the great inspectors we have here, they get on it, and they don't physically grab the guy, but they let the guy know like a mafia boss. They whisper in his ear, you shut the fuck up, or you're going to be gone, and we're taking your license away. And guess what?
Oh, yeah.
They've done it. They've suspended. They've taken licenses away, believe it or not. Not only from cornermen. That happens quite a bit. They write letters. You're not welcome back in California anymore. It creates a big problem for when that fighter comes back. They have to. Those guys who got suspended have to come before the commission, make an apology, and know how to act accordingly. But they've suspended cameramen. They've told camera crews, this guy is not allowed to come to California anymore. Why? Because he's working the boom. You guys know what I'm talking about, the big boom.
Right. Yes.
With the camera on it.
Yeah.
And he's constantly breaking the plane of the ropes. He's putting that camera in the ring, and it's just missing the head of the fighters. It's distracting. It could injure them. We've had instances where a referee got hit in the head with the camera. And when the inspectors walked over to talk to him, say, hey, you can't do that. We don't do that here. He goes, I don't work for you. I work for these guys. He found out real quick who he worked for.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's I never knew that. That's crazy. The only time I've seen a camera get intervened is when Antonio Tarver, remember when he got excited after knocking out Roy Jones, he punched the camera guy,
Punched the camera.
Yeah. Wow.
No, but we got challenges that a good commission, like I said, Mark Relier, Andy Foster, you guys know Chewy, Villarreal, and Ernie Martinez fights. You know these guys at all? You always see them with the suits on and everything like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And others, there's too many names to name, but they handle business. They're not there to collect a paycheck. They're here to make that event the most successful event possible. Why? So we get those promoters to come back the next time. We got the investment of the promoter riding on our shoulders, all of us. So we can't let some guy wearing dark glasses who paid $50 and got a license that day to ruin a multi-million-dollar event.
Right.
Great. Man, I mean, so much information here that you're dropping on us here. I'm going to move it along here with G Funky because I know he wants to talk about the judging, and I'm pretty sure he's going to bring up the whole AI situation that happened this past week. Was it this past? Yeah, this past weekend with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. So take it away there, G.
Gee, you've been real quiet. I got a feeling you'll be coming after me now too.
No. I appreciate your time coming on here and speaking with us and the fans that are listening because fans can be a little crazy sometimes. But first thing I want to say, I want to start with a comment and a compliment also that I'm glad that you said what you said at the beginning of this interview where you said that I'm walking away because I feel like I'm not, what I used to be, and I don't want to be like some of these guys that I feel personally, some of these referees that I've seen stay just far too long, and it shows fight after fight after fight, and they don't want to walk away. So I want to say thank you for that because, boxing has a lot of problems, and we don't need anything extra, especially with the referees. They're always getting blamed for a lot of stuff. The fans.
It brings to mind though.
It's good that you recognize that.
Let me ask you this really quick, G. While Jack's on, who did it bring you to mind when Jack mentioned that, brought that up about a ref? Quickly for me, who I always enjoyed, and I thought he was one of the top referees in the world. But then you slowly watch him deteriorate in the ring. Was Joe Cortez for me? That was for immediately went into my head was like, man, it's like Joe. I wish Joe would have hung up the gloves there and decided to retire out.
We lost Mario. What happened?
Yeah, there he is.
I'm sorry, man. I got a phone call. I'm sorry.
No worries.
No, I didn't want to mention. I didn't want to mention any names. But, yeah, that was. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I didn't want to mention any names, but yeah, Joe Cortez was one of those guys that I feel stuck around too long. And there's a few guys that are currently still working right now. Again, I won't say any names, but
Right.
I'm glad that you did the right thing there, Jack. But I want to ask this because I do want to talk more about ask you more questions about judging than reffing. But
sure.
as far as being a referee,